Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are continuing our basic blacksmithing, getting started blacksmithing series here on the channel. This is part 2 of making tongs. If you have not watched part 1 yet, go back and watch that so you can be up to speed where we're at. Right now, if everything worked out right for you, you should be holding almost a matching set of tongs, or each side of your tong. And you should have a piece of material that you're going to be holding in your tongs. It should be your punch material or chisel material that we're going to be doing in the next videos. So that's what we're making the tongs for. So the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to get our material hot. We're going to get a rough shape of our head of our tong. Alright guys, so I'm going to bring you in close. I'm going to show you with the material cool what our first step is going to be. And then we're going to get the fire lit and get things started. Okay guys, so the first thing we're going to do is whenever we come out of the fire, we're going to come into the corner of our anvil here and we're going to start hammering in. And we're going to start rounding these out and get a roughed out shape so it'll fit around our piece of material. Now once we get our tongs attached to each other, we'll go in and finalize it. We'll heat everything up and finalize the shape of it and make sure everything fits good and tight. But this right here, when you're doing all your hammering, this portion right, sorry, I've got mosquitoes flying all around me. Apparently it rained last night. So this portion here, if you look where it makes that cup in, that right there is what's going to be the top of your tong. That's the part that holds your material. If you look here, you can see that it makes that joint, let me get in here close, sorry, where it makes that shoulder and how it rounds up, and there's the lip in the back. So we will be working on that top half. Don't hammer on this side and round it up or it'll be backwards. So let's get the fire lit and some metal hot. Okay guys, so we're going to use the pain of the hammer to drive this material down into that corner right there at the porch. If you don't have an anvil with a horn and a porch like that, you can hammer the top like I'm doing right there, kind of like how we made the hook, the J hook, and just kind of hammer towards you a little bit, and it'll make that rounding process, and then you can finish it out once you get the final product. Whenever we're tweaking it with the material in it. Okay guys, so I'm doing the same thing with the other side. I want both sides to match, remember? So I'm just driving in that corner right there and getting everything roughly rounded out into shape. Okay, so now we're getting ready to punch our hole. We're going to take the punch and drive it into the material until it bottoms out on the anvil. And then we're going to flip it over and do the other side. So get everything as centered up as you possibly can. And then hit it once and check. Hit it again and check. Be careful if you just start driving and the material's kind of cold, because it can bounce and it'll make a bunch of little dots all over your material. If you have to, hold the material between your legs. It's very handy as a third hand. So get everything flat and just start driving that material down until it bottoms out.
Okay, you can see where that dimple is starting to form in the back. That's your slug. So flatten everything out. You can see it right there. I was pointing at it with the punch. Alright, so we're going to start driving from the other side now. Again, hit and check. Hit, check, make sure everything's lining up right. And then we'll drive it to where it bottoms out on this side. And what we're doing is working that slug so it comes out a lot easier. Alright guys, I want to apologize right here for this. I accidentally cut off me punching the hole. I guess my camera wasn't at the right angle, even though it looked like it was. But you get the gist of it. You just, like we did with the hook, you're just driving the material, driving that slug out until it comes completely out. Alright guys, you're going to see that I changed punches here. And the reason why is that slug didn't come out all the way because my first chisel was rounded over. And I got a little bit sharper when to finish pushing it out the rest of the way. But I still end up having to use a pair of pliers to rip it off. This happens whenever your chisel's not dressed up right and you don't have sharp edges around it and it's a little rounded. I just wasn't paying attention to which one I grabbed. And it just happens to the best of us from time to time, but just grab a pair of tongs and just, or a pair of pliers and just, you know, rip the slug off. And I'm going to use my punch again just to kind of get everything re-rounded back up and drifted out a little bit and cleaned up. Okay guys, so I'm just going to use the center punch here to mark where I want my next hole to be from where we're going to be drilling. And this is one of the reasons why I said that I normally will just drill the holes, because I can just clamp on the vise and just drill straight through both, and I know both holes line up perfect. But for this demonstration, I wanted to do it both ways. So just drilling the hole. Keep a good steady speed when you go to do that. Okay, so right here we're just cutting the rivet for the tongs. Remember, it's 1/4 inch material. I want to say I did maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches long on this. We're going to be cutting more off, but I just wanted to have a long enough piece to be able to grab with the tongs. You can be a little longer if you'd like. Just wanted to make it a little more easier to handle. Okay guys, so I'm basically just upsetting this material, making this rivet head. And it takes, because my jaws aren't super sharp, the material will slide a little bit sometimes. It might slide a little bit in your vise also. But you'll be able to just slowly hammer that down. It just takes a couple minutes, just a few heats. And I do heat up my rivets. They do tend to work a little better. But you can see right there that the end of it, that the head of it is upset a little bit and it's starting to make that diamond shape. Tried to get it in focus with the camera. You can see that we're starting to get that rivet head shape in there. Okay guys, so all I'm going to be doing here is just setting this rivet and seeing what everything looks like. I'm doing a little bit of extra upsetting on it too, just to make sure everything's going to fit good and tight whenever I go to put the tongs, or rivet it down to the tongs. I'm just showing right here just roughly about how much of the material that we cut off, which if it was like an 1.5 inch long piece, I cut off about a 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch of the material. Just needed just enough, maybe about a 3/8 of an inch sticking out of the other side to rivet it down. I always heat up my rivets. I feel like they upset better in making that head. I have seen it done cold. I just prefer it this way because everything just seems to go together a lot smoother. Just be careful when you're hammering down that you use your top tong to hold everything down good and tight, so you don't upset it in the wrong place. I've had them upset in between the tongs before. And as you can see, they won't open, so it's because everything's super tight. We're going to put it back in the forge and let everything heat up, and it loosens it up. And as you can see, guys, they're starting to loosen up. So now we're just going to start closing up the jaws a little bit, getting everything roughed in shape, and then we'll use our piece of steel to get everything back where it needs to be. And you'll see, I'm just going to tap everything down, get it all shaped up with the piece of steel. They're still just a little loose right there, but it'll all fix back whenever we go over to the vise to get everything tightened up. Okay guys, I'm using some 1/4 inch just as a pry here so I can get everything tweaked to fit my hands better. And now I'm going to put the piece of sample material that we're using in the tongs to hold the shape so I can get the tongs adjusted to my hands. So I'm going to pull them apart a little bit and get it to fit where it fits me. If you've got bigger hands, make it wider. Smaller hands, make it closer together. It's what's comfortable for you. So this is what the tweaking process is that I told you about.
Alright guys, let's get real for a minute and talk about what you learned today. In the last 2 videos, you learned how to make a pair of tongs. You learned how to follow a pattern. You learned how to draw out your material to make it comfortable for you. Learned how to set a rivet. Learned how to make a rivet. So you've learned a lot just in these basic tongs, round job tongs. Now, like I said before, in our next video, or next 2 videos, we're going to be making a punch and a chisel. And then from here on out, depending on what we're making, we'll make the tools for it. With that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit that like and subscribe button. God bless and keep hammering.